The football news over the weekend, we will explore a little deeper. Judy Bautista, an NFL insider for NFL Network. Great appearance last time. She'll join us coming up here in about 15 minutes from now. Myles Garrett staying with Cleveland. The Raiders go out and get Geno Smith. Josh Allen got a contract extension. Steelers got DK Metcalf. Devonte Adams goes to the Rams. This is similar to opening Christmas gifts on Christmas Eve. That's what yesterday was, this weekend was. Like today is Christmas. This is when the news is supposed to break. Noon Eastern is when they can kind of make this all official. We got Christmas gifts on Christmas Eve instead of Christmas Day. Hey, I'm not complaining. There's some big news items yesterday. The Myles Garrett staying with Cleveland, Geno Smith going to the Raiders, and I think we're looking at all these scenarios. And you go, why? We knew DK Metcalf wanted out, but you're going to go to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh doesn't even know who their quarterback is. Or they might know. We don't know yet. And we brought this up a couple of weeks ago. Aaron Rodgers to the Steelers. That possibility. It's at least in the exploratory stage, from what I'm told. That they haven't ruled it out. And then I saw what's Russell Wilson going to do? What's Justin Fields going to do? And then I saw a report, maybe Justin Fields to the Jets. Hasn't this young man suffered enough? They shouldn't do that to him. But he might be the starting quarterback. It's wild. It's like Seattle, they said, yeah, we'll trade Geno Smith. Okay. Well, Seattle must know what they're doing if they just traded Geno Smith. And they've gotten rid of Tyler Lockett, or they're going to lose him, and then DK Metcalf as well. And this is a team that won 10 games last year. And you're going to trade Geno to Pete Carroll and the Raiders. And does that preclude them from maybe going after Shedeur Sanders? Now, I was told it wouldn't, that they could still see them drafting a quarterback. Now, are you going to draft a quarterback in the top 10? That's a little bit different if you're going to go out and get Geno Smith. But Tom Brady's influence has already had an impact there. Josh Allen gets an extension. And if this helps them with salary cap relief, pushes the contract down the road, you're eventually going to have to pay him again. Do you get ahead of the market? Which, there's some teams that do and some teams that don't. Dallas Cowboys don't, and it costs them all the time. It's going to cost them with Micah Parsons. And Micah Parsons probably had I'm going to guess, a celebration yesterday. I would have, because all of a sudden he looks at what Myles Garrett got to stay in Cleveland, and Micah Parsons is going to be asking for something that begins with a 4 and not a 3. Jamar Chase probably had a really good day yesterday as well. He didn't do anything, but the Browns have said they're going to make him the highest paid non-quarterback. Why they said this, I don't know. Why they have not done this, I don't know. But it's going to cost you. If the guy is great, then pay him. That's it. Okay, there's a Band-Aid, and it might hurt a little bit, but boy, down the road, I'd rather have a Band-Aid than need stitches. And that's what's happening with the Cincinnati Bengals and the Dallas Cowboys. Is Jamar Chase as much of a sure thing in the NFL? And the answer is yes. This is exactly what you wanted out of a player that you drafted that high. To be great. Now pay him, pay that man his money, and then with Micah Parsons, pay him. Remember when TJ Watt getting $30 million? We're like, man, what is going on in the NFL? That seems like the old days. It wasn't that long ago. And then Myles Garrett. Okay, I know a little more about this than I'm allowed to talk about, but Myles Garrett, talking about staying in Cleveland, didn't want to stay in Cleveland. Now, let's go back to when he had his statement during the Super Bowl. As a kid dreaming of the NFL, all I focused on was the ultimate goal of winning a Super Bowl, and my goal fuels me today more than ever. I've loved calling this city my home. My desire to win and compete on the biggest stages won't allow me to be complacent. The goal was never to go from Cleveland to Canton. It's always been to compete and win a Super Bowl. With that in mind, I've requested to be traded from the Cleveland Browns. Whoa. Okay. And once again, I got to be careful in what I'm going to tell you. But spent 20 minutes with somebody yesterday, and because I was like, boy, that was a big turnaround. Well, Cleveland wasn't fielding trade offers, or they didn't get blown away by anybody. And I think what happened is Myles Garrett's representatives probably said, hey, they're not going to trade you. I mean, you can't be the GM who signs Deshaun Watson and then trades away Myles Garrett. Like, that's not good on your resume. I think Cleveland was pretty steadfast. They were not going to trade him. They said they weren't going to trade him. And we thought, well, they have to trade him. I think what happened is it was basically, okay, what can we pay you so you want to stay here? And it got to $40 million. I think that's really what's happening here. Myles Garrett wanted to go someplace else. They didn't get blown away by a deal. And then, therefore, he had to basically say, okay, I'm going to stay, but what are you going to pay me? Because I think he also said, hey, this isn't about being the highest paid player in the league, which I didn't buy, even if he went to someplace else. But I think that's what happened in Cleveland. Once again, I got to be careful in what I'm saying because I got information yesterday that there's more to the story that I'm not allowed to tell you about. I have to wait and let the process kind of play out here. Yes, Pauline.
But the common reaction is, what changed for Myles Garrett? Because they didn't add some star players in the past 2 months to bolster that team and make them more competitive. They're still the Browns. So
he couldn't do anything about it.
Right.
Like I don't think he wanted to stay there. I think that they gave him an offer that will satisfy him, and they were, adamant. They weren't going to trade him. I don't know if he goes, yeah, you know what, on second thought, I think we can win it all. I think we can be competitive. I think he's just being honest that I did want to go. I can't go. I'm staying. Now, make me the highest paid non-quarterback in the league. So he can save face as well. Because we'll eventually move on from this. Right now it's like, oh, yeah, great. You said you wanted to be with a contender. Somebody who could compete for a Super Bowl. Cleveland's roster hasn't really changed that much. That's what I was told. That Myles did want to leave. They were not going to trade him. They were not blown away. And then I think both parties, how do we make this work moving forward? And that's how he ended up at $40 million. The Geno Smith situation, I like it for the Raiders because now you have somebody who can play quarterback. And you're in a division that is the most competitive division in football. Now you got to at least every Sunday know that your quarterback gives you a chance. And maybe Geno Smith is a B-level quarterback. But that's okay. You got Brock Bowers, you got Max Crosby, you got a chance in the draft to get somebody. I'm told that they're going to get Ashton Genty. I was told that yesterday. Now, once again, I can tell you things that are, what are we, 5 weeks out from the draft? A month out from the draft? Things will change. But I'm trying to understand the philosophy of, I don't know what Seattle's doing, because that's a clearance sale. And are you going to go get Sam Darnold? So you get a younger quarterback. Doesn't mean he's a better quarterback. In fact, I would take Geno Smith over Sam Darnold, especially the way Seattle plays. It's a ball control, grind it out, makes a couple of plays, and Geno has played well. But the Raiders got a quarterback that they can count on, and they haven't had that for a little while. As for Seattle, I'm not sure is this a rebuild or reload? That front office has always been great. They find talent, and that's a division you can win. That's what surprised me. They could have just stayed with what they had there. Now, DK Metcalf, I've said before, he should be a whole lot better. Every time I see him, I see Des Bryant without the resume. And maybe this helps him, but I can't imagine George Pickens and DK Metcalf being happy with, hey, you got 4 targets today. how about our running game? You know, like, now, if you get Aaron Rodgers, okay, then I could see where that would be a little more interesting. I think the Rams had an unbelievable day because you're going to get Cooper Kupp's salary off the books, and you bring in Devonte Adams. And I always want to know, how far out do you think the Rams go, you know, we're going to get rid of Cooper Kupp. Who can we get? Now you start going, okay, what are the Jets going to do with Devonte? But that's when you make a phone call. These things don't happen in the span of, 6 hours, 12 hours. I know there's the legal tampering, which I still find amazing. That it's like jumbo shrimp. Wait, it doesn't make sense. Legal tampering. Why do we even call it legal tampering? But Devonte Adams going there. Matthew Stafford's got to be thrilled. So you got Devonte Adams and Puka Nacua. You got a good running game. You got a young defense. You get Matthew Stafford back. The Rams are in great shape. Great shape. But there's teams that didn't do anything. What are the Giants doing? What are the Giants doing? Are you going all in to get Cam Ward? Because is Justin Fields going to be plan B? I don't know. Or is Justin Fields going to the Jets? What are the Jets doing? So is Russell Wilson involved in this? And the Steelers, I'm guessing you have two quarterbacks, but you don't feel like you have one quarterback. You just traded for if I'm DK Metcalf, the first thing I say is, well, who's going to be quarterback? Hey, I'm glad you're going to give me $150 million, but who's going to be the quarterback here? That's a big question there. And can Aaron Rodgers fit in with the Steelers? If that would happen. Kind of wild. Yes, Tom.
And you're still hearing that buzz even up until this weekend. Giants, Vikings for Aaron Rodgers. It's like all over the place right now with him.
Yeah. I thought that the Vikings basically said to J.J. McCarthy, you'll be our starting quarterback. And then I saw where, he's coming back from a devastating injury. He might not be ready to go, and that's why you reach out to Aaron Rodgers. I'm not quite sure. But if I'm, J.J. McCarthy, I probably think I'm going to be the starter. But if you're Aaron Rodgers, in his mind, he's still a starter. It may not be reality, but it may be, hey, you want to be the starting quarterback for the Giants for 1 year, $30 million. Or take your chances elsewhere. Yeah, Paulie.
It's almost like the Vikings were too competitive last year to start developing a quarterback. They were surprisingly competitive because of Darnold. They may move on from Darnold, but now they have to replace him with a guy who could help them win the division now. It's a weird place to be. If they were under 500 last year, they finished under 500, move on to J.J. McCarthy calmly. But it's like they're weirdly competitive.
Yeah. Yes, Todd.
And social media's been having fun with the Favre comparison. You play for the Packers, you go to the Jets, you get into the Vikings.
Oh, boy. You say you can't do it, but he can do it. Yeah. He didn't care.